the challenge of playing Kenton this week?
Well, we're going against the number one team in the state. They've been a powerhouse for years and years, and they just reload every year. And last year they didn't make the playoffs, but they were close. And this year, they got talented receivers. They got a great quarterback. They also have an offensive line to go with it. So we definitely have a challenge ahead of us. And on paper, I guess, Aaron, if people were going to say we were going to get our butts kicked on paper, that's one thing. But we don't play the game on paper, and hopefully our kids can rise to the challenge.
Hi, welcome to the Week 12 edition of the Daily Record High School Football Insider, Playoff Edition number 2. I'm sports editor Aaron Dorksen along with Mike Plant. And Mike, we now have down to 3 area football teams practicing and getting ready for games this week. Triway, Chippewa, and Loudonville. It should be an exciting weekend.
Yeah, just like last weekend was, Aaron. Friday night, the only area team in action, the Triway Titans at 9-2, will be making a short trip across Route 30 to Mansfield's Arlen Field, a beautiful place to watch a game, to take on the state's number 1 ranked team in Division 4, 11-0 Kenton at 7:30 Friday night. And Aaron, last week when the scores were being flashed across the state, Kenton's was unbelievable. They've got, a couple years ago, of course, we covered them against Norway, but they've got a whole new set of playmakers that are really unbelievable.
Well, even during the Triway game, when you could see it was either way with Wauseon, with Twitter nowadays, people already in the press box knew that Grant Sherman, the Kenton quarterback, threw 8 touchdown passes in the first half. What shocked some people even more is officially he was 37 for 51 in that first half. How do you get that many attempts? He threw for 476 yards. The 8 touchdowns tied a national record. He did not play in the second half. And they wound up defeating Galleon 58-14. Granted, Galleon didn't have its starting quarterback, but still, that is unbelievable. For the season, Mr. Sherman has 4,062 yards passing, 53 touchdown passes. One name that is familiar from when Norway defeated Kenton for the state title 3 seasons ago is senior Justin Sawmiller. He was a sophomore then. This year, he has 116 catches for 1,816 yards, and he's the all-time national career record holder with 403 receptions in his career. But hey, Triway has some playmakers too, and it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, you just can't help but laugh when you consider some of those numbers. 51 passes,
video
is
game
almost
numbers,
physically impossible. And we were stunned a couple years ago when Matty Mock was their quarterback. And, of course, he's now at Missouri in the SEC. But young Mr. Sherman, Grant Sherman, sounds like a Civil War general, kind of rolled through Galleon like Sherman rolled through Atlanta 150 years ago. But, you talked about Triway's playmakers real quick. Parker Carmichael, his numbers, they're going to pale in comparison to Mr. Sherman, but he is 57 yards away from breaking Tim Hiller's all-time area passing record. He's got over 7,000 now for his career. 3,067 this year to go with 31 TDs. He's got an unbelievable quartet of receivers himself, particularly Troy Haven, who had a big game in the win, exciting win over Wauseon last week. Troy's got 93 catches and for 907 yards and 12 touchdowns. Jordan Miller, the other part of their 1-2 punch, 73 catches for over 1,000 yards and 11 touchdowns. And you throw in Dylan Kopp and Jay Duncan, it gives young Mr. Carmichael a lot of targets. But, Aaron, of course, Triway is no secret. They're a big underdog going into Friday night's game. But, I know they're embracing their underdog status. But, it sounds like from when you talk to Kenton's coach, Mike Mock, that they're giving the Titans all the respect in the world.
Yeah, it's always interesting, the mental aspect that you see in big games. How do the coaches play it up, sell it to their teams? Triway is openly embracing, being the underdogs, and the fact that people statewide or even some online sites are saying they're 20, 30-point underdogs against the top-ranked Kenton. Triway defensive coordinator Bruce Fletcher said, "This is a Rocky story," and had a smile on his face. And head coach Tony Lee says, we don't have a ton of pressure on us because we're the underdog. Let's play relaxed and see what happens. So, but talking to Mike Mock, though, he doesn't really sound like a coach that's favored by all that much. He said they have not seen a team all year with 4 receivers as good as Triway, and he had nothing but praise for Parker Carmichael, the way he throws it, the way he runs it. And he said all those skilled players on defense, he thinks they're going to give a challenge. And then Triway's quicker, fast line, strong. So at least he's saying all the right things. He's expecting a pretty good challenge from Triway. So then let's move to Saturday's game, Mike. Chippewa, the Cinderella story in Division 5, maybe one of the best stories in the state, goes from 1-29 the past 3 years to 9-2 after upsetting top-seeded Columbia.
Yeah, we go from Rocky to Cinderella with Chippewa, and had a chance to talk to Chippewa coach Mike Boley today real quick before I talk about Coldwater, their opponent, Saturday. And he said that this story is becoming, he's told his team, it's becoming bigger than Doylestown and bigger than just Wayne County. He's getting calls from everywhere around the state about the great turnaround, which it's been a lot of fun to follow that. Now for winning their first round playoff game last week over top-seeded Columbia, their reward is getting a game against Coldwater.
Yeah, Coldwater is from that Midwest Athletic Conference. It's like famous. They're always deep in the playoffs. Our area fans may remember that Orville defeated Coldwater back in '98 for the state title. Coldwater only 2 losses this year, 21-2 to Kenton. Then they lost to Marion Local 47-14, a Division 7 team that's a huge favorite to win the state title for the MAC title. But what information have you gathered on Coldwater?
Well, here's Coldwater will be looking to go to their 5th consecutive state championship game. Last year's seniors who graduated for Coldwater, and they graduated 23 of them, which their coach Chip Otten told me that was a pretty big class for them. They played 60 games in their 4-year careers, wow. Which is, even I can do that math. That's like 6 full regular seasons. So they're tournament tested. After losing 3 state championship games in a row, they won the state title last year. In Chip Otten's 4th year, he took over for a legend in Ohio coaching circles, John Reed, who took over the Coldwater program, coached there 15 years. Got cancer during their 2010 run to the state championship game, and passed away later that school year. And Chip Otten, a longtime assistant there who played at Coldwater, has taken over, and this is his 4th year. Really, Aaron, when you look at those guys, when you look at Coldwater's roster, the eye-popping numbers aren't there like they are at Kenton. And even Coach Otten said that, hey, we're not that impressive getting off the bus, but the results on the field speak for themselves. They're led by a quarterback about 5'10", Brody Hoying is his name. You talk about genetics. He's got 2 first cousins. One, Ross Homan, a Coldwater grad who played, of course, at Ohio State at linebacker and started for 4 years. And Bobby Hoying, the quarterback from the 90s with the Buckeyes, who also played in the NFL. This edition of Hoying, Brody Hoying, has 1,234 yards passing, 1,234 yards rushing, and 22 TDs, and he's thrown for 1,426 yards, 15 touchdowns, and only 6 interceptions. And to give you kind of an idea how much you rely on Hoying, their next best rusher is also their best defensive player, linebacker Mitch Schoenherr. He's only got 318 yards rushing, and their top receiver has 32 catches, Adam Klosterman. But really, Aaron, this team is centered around, on both sides of the ball. Hoying is also the free safety who kind of directs the team from there. It's really centered around his talents.
Well, interesting though, you think of a small school powerhouse and you think maybe it's just huge and they bully you over, but when we've compared the lineups, Chippewa is actually going to be the bigger team. And Chippewa has been very physical this year. That's their identity, even though Bailey Breitenstein, the little quarterback, has something, over 20 touchdown passes and only about 4 interceptions. They're physical. I mean, Stoney Epling's a big, strong tight end. Bo Wetzel's a power runner. Mm-hmm. So it will be interesting to see if Chippewa, maybe they can use that strength to their advantage. Let's move now to end this week's program to the last area matchup. That's Loudonville taking on Huron up at Medina. Somebody had to win last week with 2 area teams with Northwestern and Loudonville, but it was the Redbirds defense who stole the show with a 20-8 win. Loudonville's record-setting quarterback Colton Edmondson, though bothered by a shoulder, only had 36 yards rushing. So it'll be interesting to see how that holds up. That'll be pretty important for Loudonville in this game.
Right. Yeah, the Redbirds won it last week with their defense. Of course, keyed by Ryan Weber. They're all-everything linebacker. Spent a lot of time in the backfield chasing Malachi Noletti around. They were also able to limit Northwestern's outstanding running back, Tyler Smith. Held him under 50 yards, I believe. And really won the game with their defense and a little bit of power football. Their defense, Aaron, is really fast and they're physical too. Tristan Bender, free safety, about 6'2", 190, comes flying up to the line of scrimmage and makes a lot of plays. So they're going to need to generate, I think, a little bit more offense this week when they take on Huron, who I think upset second-seeded Liberty Benton last week.
Yeah, Huron won last week 28-14. Very interesting in this region. I don't know if any others in the state have played out this way, but all 4 teams left in the region are the lower seeds, so it's the 5 through 8 seeds. So Huron's top players, Cody Thompson and Spencer Maddox, both went over 100 yards rushing.
Plus they have little Tommy Bogdan as a nice running back.
And then one other playoff game, if you want to stay closer to home, Mike.
Yeah, the Orville Red Riders will be hosting a playoff game. Of course, they're not in it. It'll be a Division VII game, Norwalk St. Paul against Wellsville, which is pretty good small school football. So if you don't want to head to one of the games involving an area team Saturday night, you can head over to Orville and watch playoff football.
There it is, a look at the 3 games involving area teams. Good luck to all the local teams, and thanks for watching another edition of the Daily Record High School Football Insider.